Hey, Sam's back. Damien, Sam's back from Disneyland. Were you guys saving Hassan on Piers Morgan for Sam? It's a pretty great example of how Piers does not deserve a show.
I don't think we were on saving it on purpose.
It's more Piers fatigue, kind of how he's.
Well,
what is it? What is it? What's going on with that? Is it just the one where he yells at the other guy?
There's a bunch. I mean, Piers had a few things of just wild Gaza stuff where he has.
Well, I don't like. First of all, I welcome whoever goes on there and challenges it, like Jank or Hassan or Abby Martin. Right? Those have been great appearances.
Yeah.
But I'm resentful of this like desire to turn this into a blood sport. For clicks, because apparently this is not even on his cable show, right? This is his separate now online show that is doing just to debate this, and it's like,
he's doing a separate show.
It's an online thing. That's what Hassan was on, right? So it's almost just we've had
so it wasn't on TV.
We've had such success bringing on luminaries such as Rabbi Shmuley to talk about how a genocide's doing well, and then have him scream at people. Let's do that again, because people like fighting. And I think that when our side is debating Zionists, like, we're going to come out on the right side, but a lot of it depends on the structure of the show. And so just making this into some sort of entertainment fodder is not really my favorite dynamic. But maybe I'm being a bit of a Debbie Downer.
I gotta say, I mean, look, I think the value of it is that our tastes are not always necessarily the one that's going to drive the most views and ultimately change particularly like people who have not been engaged in this topic for an extended period of time. I mean, you can go and look at our videos. The ones where we talk about, adjusting the COLAs, the cost of living increases on Social Security, for example, or I don't know, the rollback of internet access for people that's happening within days from now. That tends not to get big views. But let's play this clip of Hassan. And I don't know, the thing I got that I thought was pretty funny was that he's just making fun of the guy's British accent on a show that I don't know if half the people on there are from Britain anyways. But the point is, this actually, I think, it makes people feel like they're being supported. You've got a lot of college students who are out there. They're getting arrested. They're, maybe they're getting booted from college right before they're getting their grades. There are people who are frustrated. I fortunately avoided a lot of really nastiness, over the course of Passover. But, there's still this sort of ongoing, in people's personal lives and in their public lives, there's frustration. And so sometimes it's nice to have someone, let a little air out of the tire. Here's Hassan letting a little bit of air out of the tire on this Piers Morgan uncensored. And we should say, not safe for work language. I'm going to talk to Hassan later about why he has to drop so many F-bombs, but here it is.
Here, James.
If anyone is using hostages, surely it's Hamas, Hassan. How can you say that? How can you use that argument? That's a crazy thing to say. It's Hamas
What do you mean, how can I use that
taken
argument?
these
There
people
are
from their homes,
tens of thousands of people in
murdered their
Israel.
relatives.
There are currently tens of thousands of Israeli citizens right now in the streets of Israel, in the streets of Tel Aviv, outside of Benjamin Netanyahu's house, protesting every single day. What are they protesting? They're protesting for Benjamin Netanyahu to facilitate a ceasefire with Hamas so that they can actually bring the hostages home. That is precisely the number one goal of the family members of the hostages.
Who is using the hostages?
If anyone on this panel was being even a little bit honest, they would recognize the reality that, listen.
You didn't listen to my question.
Listen to, Listen to what I'm saying, and you will understand, perhaps, what I'm trying to
That's
imply
very
here.
patronizing.
Utilizing the hostages. Yeah, I am being patronizing. I don't know who the fuck you are, and you're over here chirping all the way from fucking London about Palestine and doing a both sides are fucking fine type bullshit where you're talking about how you want to fucking free Palestine, but also simultaneously, both sides got a lot going on. Shut the fuck up. You don't know anything, okay? I don't give a shit about what your perspective is.
I agree
Hassan
with
doesn't
quite a
like
lot
what
of
you
the
have
things
to
you're
say,
saying,
so
Hassan.
you're wrong. It's Hassan's way or the highway.
I mean, you are.
Really
There is no
clever
both
you
sides
are.
on a genocide. Is there a
Really
both sides of a
clever.
genocide? There is no both sides.
Well, the thing is,
Is
it's
there?
interesting you
There
should
is-
mention the
Really?
hostages.
What
There
is
is
in the
no both
Hamas
sides being
charter?
an
They want
apartheid
a Jewish genocide, but that's okay. But
But
a
the
Jewish
thing is,
genocide is okay.
if you're talking about the
That was, a little bit cathartic.
Oh yes. Good job.
I love
Hassan.
I love the fact that he's going like, you're all the way in effing London. Like, okay, I mean.
It's interesting how short the bench is for supporters of Israel in this moment. Like, who are these people?
Oh, it honestly, the bench is short.
The Dersh busy?
The bench is short. I mean, that is why, frankly, look, that's why I could tell you, although I have just about alienated all of the people who would send me this stuff, and they know better to send me this stuff, because if I get sent something, and particularly if it's a group email, none of those people are not going to hear back from me. But it is the obsession, and I will be the first to note that anti-Semitism on the rise. It's also been around for a long time. Like, I didn't grow up in New York. I grew up in Worcester, Mass. I had pennies thrown at me. You're playing basketball with somebody or whatever it is. But it's definitely more prominent. It was growing under Donald Trump, too, incidentally. But the obsession with anti-Semitism is completely a way to divert attention away from what the actual conversation is about. There is no doubt that anti-Semitism is on the rise. There is also no doubt that to the extent that it's on the rise, it is fueled and given cover by the actions of Israel right now. And, every time somebody says there's a genocide, you got the ADL guy going out there going like, this is blood libel. Everything's not blood libel. There can't be multiple blood libels. And it really is an attempt to sort of basically say, I'm going to keep my head in the sand.
It's a moral panic too. I mean, like, that's part of the construction. And it's the reason you can see like Christian fascists going and saying you're an anti-Semite to these protesters is because in this moment they've decided to redefine anti-Semitism as basically anti-whiteness, and that's how they're operating. I mean,
and the House is about to vote. I think it's happening soon on another, what is anti-Semitism resolution. And they're using one that comes from, where do I have this? They're using one that comes from the, essentially a Holocaust association.
Yes.
Here it
The
is.
International Committee for Holocaust Remembrance.
The IHRA. And this has been a problem. This definition has been a problem since way before October 7th.
it was used to blackball Corbyn and others.
100%.
Labor critical of
Specifically
Israel.
that, like, it's a number of provisions. I think it mentions actual, like,
And
criticizing Israel more than anti-Semitism.
It says anti-Semitism includes drawing comparisons of contemporary Israel policy to that of the Nazis. Think about for a moment how insane this is. That this would constitute a principle that defines anti-Semitism. Like, whatever it is that you want to compare to Nazi policies, the idea that Israel could never do this, or that if it was to do it, observing this would be anti-Semitic. I mean, this is just total bull crap. And the idea is that it would require the Department of Education to use this International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And again, there's nothing more disgusting, in my estimation, than appropriating things like anti-Semitism and the Holocaust for particularly a right-wing political agenda. But it would use that definition of anti-Semitism in enforcing federal statutes prohibiting discrimination against students. It's just disgusting. It's just disgusting. The idea that you can't talk about, there's a metaphor or an analogy that you can't use, or it's anti-Semitic.
Well,
because of the nature of what you're, analogizing, it's just absurd.
and that's also, I mean, immensely ironic given the fact that Netanyahu and others in the Israeli government consistently compare Palestinians to Nazis.
Yeah.
The Jerusalem definition of anti-Semitism is the one that was created a few years ago in response to this. This is the definition of anti-Semitism that doesn't have this incredible Zionist bias. And that's the one that should be the working definition.
Yeah, I mean, people can check out Left Reckoning 106 with Heather Mendick, who was kicked out of labor for this exact same reason, and she herself is a Jewish.